minutes after 8. It was a shake, rattle and roll surprise for the city of Melbourne yesterday when a 5.8 magnitude earthquake struck the city. How severe was the earthquake and why Melbourne? Seems a very rare thing to happen for the state of Victoria. In fact, Australia generally. Joining us now, live from Melbourne, is Research Fellow of Earthquake Seismology, Januka Attanayake, who is with us from Melbourne this morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So this was a kind of unexpected earthquake, was it not?
Yes, it depends on who you talk to, right? If you're talking to someone who's living near a plate boundary, this might have been an unusual earthquake because, at plate boundaries you get magnitude 5, 6s probably every year. But that's not the case here in Australia. We get a magnitude 6 or greater earthquake every 6 to 8 years instead. That too is mostly in the western part of the continent where the oldest crust is. But if you look at the eastern half of the continent, we haven't had a magnitude 6 onshore. We've had magnitude 6s and greater events offshore, but not onshore. And this is probably the largest earthquake that we've observed in the eastern part of the continent onshore again. The magnitude was actually revised upwards last night to a 5.9 instead of a 5.8.
Good to know. Thank you. Why is that? Because people in New Zealand are thinking, because we get so many of them here in New Zealand, right? And you guys, it seems to be like once in a blue moon. Why? How can we be so close and yet so far?
Yeah, so New Zealand is sitting right on top of the plate boundary, right? The Pacific plate is crashing into the Indian Ocean plate. As a result of that, you get a whole bunch of earthquakes every year. But that's not the case for Australia. Australia is sitting right in the middle of the Indo-Australian plate. And therefore, we don't get as many earthquakes. But for a intraplate region, we call it an intraplate region, we get quite a number of earthquakes. In fact, the University of Melbourne has a seismic network down in the southeast corner of the country, and we record about 400 earthquakes a year. But these are really tiny events, right? These are like 2.5s or less in terms of magnitude. So that goes on to say that, we get earthquakes, but they're not large ones regularly. But occasionally we get these very large events. And that's, again, the mechanism behind producing these earthquakes are the same as what you would see in a plate boundary. And that is buildup of stress along these pre-existing faults. And from time to time, these faults give away and produce these large earthquakes.
Fascinating. Januka, thank you very much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. Januka Attanayake, who is with us from Melbourne, University of Melbourne, Research Fellow of Earthquake Seismology. It is just